Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey, and NFL free agency is days away, so it is time for an updated look at our top NFL free agent targets for the Cowboys, a.k.a. the Catboys. They'll probably make a move this year, though, even if it's a lesser move. They have more cap space than they did last time, or at least they should end up with more cap space. When the Cowboys make a move, we will have a video for you, whether it's a re-signing because they like their guys or an outside free agent pickup. Do not miss out. Hit that subscribe button right now. We're going 50 players deep this time. That's bigger than we've ever done before. So we'll be a little bit quicker across the board with everybody here. 3 linebackers. The guy I wanted last year, Kaiser White, Eagles picked him up. I think decent chance he ends up leaving. Eric Kendricks and Bobby Wagner are both release candidates, which would not impact the comp pick formula. Dallas got 2 5s and a 6 this year. That was recently announced. I have a lot of interest in Bobby Wagner. Does he fit the Cowboys' price point? Who knows? We'll see fairly early on in free agency. He's a post-June 1st cut, so he can't go on the Monday in terms of talking to teams. He has to wait until the new league year actually begins Wednesday afternoon. Let's go to receiver because the Cowboys will add a playmaker this year. Whether it's free agency or the draft, they're going to spend a premium asset on that grouping. That includes tight ends, by the way. Receivers only for free agents because tight ends not going to be an area that they pursue. Odell Beckham Jr. kicks off the list, working out Friday with teams. Why he announced that so quickly and tight to the timeline, who knows? I'll throw in Alan Lazard. I think is a good candidate for, he got how much money player of the year? Because he overlapped briefly with Mike McCarthy in Green Bay. But DJ Chark, Mecole Hardman, Darius Slayton all fit what I would prefer much more. This Cowboys offense severely lacks speed. All 3 players, probably different price points, fit the mold of actually adding speed to their roster in 2023. TikTok boy, JuJu Smith-Schuster, makes the list again. He was in conversations to an extent with Dallas last year. Picked the Chiefs/Cowboys, didn't offer him enough there. Possession receiver, I need speed there. Robert Woods, Sammy Watkins. Dallas once tried to sign Sammy Watkins, and they didn't pay enough, did not land the bidding war when he went to KC. Helped the Cowboys out in the end. That would have been a horrible contract. Both guys are a little bit older, but they're cheap, and you know how Catboy likes to operate. Randall Cobb keeps getting linked, and I'd be kind of mad. He's had one good year the past, 6 or 7, was in Dallas, but I don't need a pure slot-only player. A lesser name like a Chris Conley, size, speed combination, could appeal to Dallas since that's what they tend to like at receiver, especially as they move to the more Mike McCarthy-style offense. Of all the players out there in free agency, please keep it realistic. I beg of you. We know how the Cowboys operate. Name a player who you want the Dallas Cowboys to sign this offseason. It is the pinned comment on today's show. So if an ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there. Let me know who you want to sign in free agency this year. Defensive line time. No Daron Payne. Not that he was going to be a Cowboy anyway. Some more run-stopping focused options. Dalvin Tomlinson, Poona Ford, A'Shawn Robinson. Ford's a Texas kid who should have been drafted despite being very small in terms of height. He's been a great run stopper in Seattle. Robinson could be cheap. Also, you're right, Jeremy. Elite name in Poona Ford. Sheldon Rankins has been linked a little bit in the past. A little bit more of a pass rusher there. It would be fun to take Fletcher Cox away from Dallas, although I don't know if that would end up happening. It also upset Jeremy a lot, which everyone enjoys. Some other under-the-radar names who fit that kind of Carlos Watkins maybe-ish range, maybe a little bit more expensive. Matt Ioannidis of the Panthers. Greg Gaines, I like him quite a bit. Wasn't as good without Aaron Donald, who is. I guess Bobby Wagner kind of was. John Kaminsky, by the way, a player the Cowboys liked a couple years ago coming out of the draft, was a Falcon player, so there is some Dan Quinn connection to an extent there. And under the radar had a nice year with the Detroit Lions. I wouldn't mind a fatty on the interior, but I think the bigger, splashy names at DT are going to be out of their price range. More on that at the end of today's show. I'm going to put safeties on here because it's my show and I love safeties. The Cowboys have a chance to right a wrong from several years ago when they passed on Juan Thornhill, Taylor Rapp, Nasir Adderley, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, too expensive, by the way, for him, and get one of these safeties. Probably only makes sense if they lose Donovan Wilson or if they surprise and cut Malik Hooker to an extent. 3 guys the Cowboys could have drafted. They did not. Now they have another chance this year to acquire them via free agency. I would love it, but I know how the Cowboys do business at safety. They've invested some of the least amount of draft capital and monetary capital in the past decade. They are one of the cheapest teams at that position group. St. Patrick's Day is just around the corner, and since we have the green screen behind me, I don't often wear green clothes. If you're like me and don't have very many, this is your chance to get some Cowboys-themed St. Patrick Day gear. Chatsports.com/CowboysGreen. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show. A couple different items for you guys here. Get them now so they arrive in time for St. Patrick's Day. Again, links in the comments and the description. Chatsports.com/CowboysGreen. When we last did this list, went a little bit longer on running back, but they've since franchise tagged Tony Pollard. I bet they draft someone in a loaded class as opposed to signing a free agent. Some veteran names worth mentioning. Jamal Williams, I hate to say it, is the upgrade button on Ezekiel Elliott right now. I know, but that's the truth at this point. Devin Singletary could be a nice buy low candidate, offer some third down flexibility. Damian Harris also probably likely leaves New England. It's a good free agency and draft crop at the running back position. You could be able to find some value there. The first two names on this list might be too expensive. Marcus Davenport, Frank Clark. Oozy Frank Clark, by the way. Davenport players come off a really down year. Cowboys let them coming out of UTSA. It's the Will McClay special. Signed the veteran free agent who's a former early round pick. And I think you do the Dante Fowler approach every year for the foreseeable future when you have Dan Quinn. Don't invest actual big money in your number 3 edge, number 4 edge. Sign a veteran, have him have a bounce back year, and then cash in on a comp pick next offseason. Robert Quinn could fit that mold as a Cowboys legend. Arden Key might be a little bit expensive. Bud Dupree will be cut. He hasn't been able to stay healthy, but he's a good pass rusher. Relatively recent early draft pick, Ben Banogu out of TCU. Cowboys familiar with him since he's a local kid. Other dark horse names, go Chase Winovich, go Jason Pierre-Paul. All options there for Dallas. Every year we hear Jerry Jones wants to make a splash, whether it's free agency draft. You can bank on that being a report every year. But it hasn't happened in the offseason since Brandon Carr, Terrell Owens. Not a great grouping there. So be honest with me. Will the Cowboys actually make a splash? Y for yes, N for no. Let's go offensive line now. If Tyron Smith does officially come back, probably not going to be that much investment here. Ben Powers, Dalton Reisner, 2 really good free agent guards. Cam Irving, a Cowboys legend himself, offers you some positional flexibility and some swing tackle standpoint there. Wynn has a lot of positional flex, by the way, but might be too expensive. Will Hernandez, who the Cowboys had considered drafting a few years ago. The Giants ended up taking him. Run mauling guard was better in Arizona than a not-so-great time in New York. Don't rule out corner because Bossman Fat is just not it. Cam Sutton might be too expensive, but I like the player a lot. Patrick Peterson has been linked before. You try him at safety. That was kind of mentioned last offseason. New buzz that Byron Murphy might get $16 million a year. If that's the case, that's your how do you get that much money? That's an overpay for the guy we've seen in Arizona so far. Isaiah Oliver is a decent veteran name if they pursue a corner. You're right, producer Jeremy. He is a Dan Quinn guy from his time in Atlanta. Emmanuel Mosley fits what the Cowboys like at corner. I wonder if a team like the Texans, though, pay him a big amount of money. Of all the Cowboys' needs, as we sit right now, days before free agency, which one is the biggest Cowboys need? Sound off for me in the comments section. Cooper Rush might be a Charger. Maybe he leaves. We'll find out here. Some free agent targets at backup quarterback. Guys that are going to be much cheaper than what they're currently being paid. 2 Commanders guys. Taylor Heineke, Carson Wentz. I don't know if you want Carson Wentz as in your quarterback room, but it would continue the lifelong Cowboys trend of making the backup quarterback a ginger. Jason Garrett, Cooper Rush, Carson Wentz could be next. Teddy Bridgewater, I think, is the quick passing game. They're going to try to grow this year, do more of that. He makes sense. Taylor Heineke is one of the luckier quarterbacks in the NFL, frankly. Somehow he does stuff that should not work out. I keep flashing back to I think it was against the Eagles, or whichever game it was, where they throw the vertical pass downfield and it's underthrown by 7 yards, and the ref takes out the DB, or against the Vikings. That was the game. Ref takes out the DB. It's a touchdown they had no business scoring. It just happens sometimes for him. Baker Mayfield, I wonder if he stays in L.A., but or if you want him as a backup. Case Keenum also fits, I think, a decent West Coast-style offense. Texas guys, right, Jeremy, and decent veteran backup. They'll keep that number lower. Maybe a couple of those guys do fit that role. Finally, 5 guys you're just not going to get, but oh, wouldn't it be nice? You can throw Chauncey Gardner-Johnson on here, too. If you wanted to, you could totally sign one of these players. The Cowboys, whatever, because they got that CeeDee Lamb deal coming and that Trayvon Diggs deal. And we got to pay Micah in a year, knowing them 4 years. Tyler Smith in a couple years. Cowboys don't do business that way. But adding a Draymond Jones, I think is going to get a lot of money this year. James Bradbury, Javon Hargrave, Yannick Ngakoue, Jamel Dean would all be great. They filled nice needs for you. And Ngakoue alongside Tank Lawrence and Micah Parsons would get like 10 sacks. But it's just going to be too expensive. Self-imposed restrictions there for the Cowboys. There it is, 50 players deep. If you have questions more in depth on any of them, you can throw them in the comments section. If you want to add names to that too, you can also hit me up on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney.